Have you ever wondered what you might see spiritually in Rome, Italy? Well, look no further than this video. Hey there, I'm Mary. I've seen in the spiritual realm since I was a tiny little girl. Seeing spiritually has been something that has produced peace and life and fruit in my life. And it's also been one that has helped me understand the times and the seasons and the narratives that we're living in. And it's been something that has brought me closer, not further, from Jesus. So when I went to Rome, Italy, a few weeks ago, I really had a lot of interesting encounters. And I'm not even going to talk about all of them because sometimes seeing is more about knowing when to keep your mouth closed. But I am going to share a couple of small things. So when I went, I had not been in Italy since I was a tiny little girl. I had gone when I was 6 years old, and it had just been a little bit of a while. And I still remember the Colosseum, and when I went back, it was so incredibly special. But as I went, I was so struck by not just the history, but also the spiritual history of the city and how clear it was to me that ruins are more than ruins, and the things that inhabit ruins are ancient. And Rome is a city that's been built on ruins and has been built on old things. And I had a very interesting day in Rome, and towards the end of my day, I wanted to go to Palatine Hill, which is the area that it held all of the palaces for the old Roman empires, and it was the heart of the empire. It was the heart of the Roman people. It was the center of power of their emperors and of their gods. And let me just say that the old gods are still kicking, and that they have not abandoned their haunts. And that's where I don't want to get into too much of a discussion, because I don't want to encourage you to go to Rome to try to commune with those guys, because the destruction and brutality that you saw, if you've read any amount of Roman history, was caused in large part by those guys. And I don't think that's something we should be trying to resurrect. But what was clear to me, well, back up and let me tell a funny story first. So I'm like wiped out, worn out. I'm going to Palatine Hill, and my last name is Amor, and I'm trying to buy a ticket to go see the old Roman emperor palaces. And the tour guide is shouting through one of those little microphone things through the glass, and he looks at my ID card and he's like, Amor, backwards! It is Roma! You are... And that was how I went into Palatine Hill. I was like, this is quite a day. And I remember going into one of the old buildings on Palatine Hill, and the Catholic Church had painted a lot of murals, like religious murals, on this old temple. But when I looked in the spirit in this temple, all I saw were snakes. And the best muralist in the world cannot cover up what a thing is built on. And that wasn't even the craziest thing that I saw on Palatine Hill. But I was so struck by how so often we really want to build things on top of old ones. I looked around in Palatine Hill and I saw what I've seen throughout most of Europe, Japan, and anywhere where there is ancient architecture. And that is this. Spirits seeking embodiment often attach themselves to physical things. And without the work of cleaning up what's down in the ruination of those ruins, all the best muralists in the world won't actually triumph. And many of the gods still live on the ruins of their favorite haunts. And this is something I can tell you. If you build on what is old and terrible spiritually, you can expect a similar result. It is not a spiritual triumph to build a cathedral on a temple. I think literally and metaphorically, a better thing to do would be to raise it, take it down to the brass tacks, and build on something a little bit better. Build on Jesus, the chief cornerstone. Build on something a little bit more solid. And do not build on old temples expecting different results. Because when you walk into the places of power expecting a different result. When you try to build a kingdom on top of an empire, you won't get what you were hoping for. You won't get what you were looking for. And you shouldn't expect to, because the old gods still have their haunts, and you have to clean up what's been left behind, not just paint over it. Hey there, I'm Mary. I write and teach on the spiritual realm. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and follow for more. And if you want to get a little bit more deeply into what we talked about than a YouTube comment section will allow, you can click below for a link to some free courses and also some community things. So follow along for more.